What's up, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. Welcome to your market recap video. It is September 8th of 2022. Let's dive in. We have a lot to cover today. S&P 500, as measured by the SPY, finished up 0.65%. We had our NASDAQ QQQ finishing up 0.52%. Our IWM small caps were up 0.83%. Dogs of the Dow up 0.6%. And our ARK Innovation ETF was the big winner for today, up 2.97%. You can see pretty much all of these indices closed towards the upper end of their day's range. We did have a nice crush in the volatility of all these indices. And the market breadth, I must say, it was positive, but it was kind of mixed, and it really teeter-tottered throughout the session. We had 60% advancers in the small caps. We had 69.8% of volume, and the trend model remains at a +1 reading. Let's take a look. Today's economic data. We did have a Fed Powell speech in the morning. So I got to say, like, this morning was actually pretty jam-packed because we had initial jobless claims at 8:30, and we're in this environment where the market is interpreting bad news as good news and good news as bad news. So it's like, oh my gosh, the market's waiting and pause for that 8:30 a.m. print. Print comes out. It's actually a little bit better than expected. And of course, that's like not what the market wants to see. So we did have a little bit of like teeter-tottering after that. The market went down, I think it was like 0.25%. Nothing too crazy. I mean, we got to remember, yesterday was a huge update in the market, right? And then Fed Chair Powell started to speak at 9:10 a.m. This is in the pre-market, remember. And he basically continues to have his hard line. Like, inflation is a problem. We're going to use our tools, blah, blah, blah. Basically reiterating the same exact message that he put forth at Jackson Hole. But I think what a lot of investors and traders miss is that if Powell gives a hard line at Jackson Hole and then the market sells off for 16 sessions straight after that, if he says the same thing today, the market's not going to go, oh my gosh, like let me just sell everything off again. Like the market's already been reacting to that news, it's been digesting it for a couple of weeks. So we did get some morning volatility. And the market, I think the S&P 500 shook out, and it was down maybe like 0.8%. It was pretty wild. I actually bought some more SPY call options on that shakeout, but it ended up working out well. For tomorrow, we do have another bunch of Fed speakers. We got Evans, we have George, and we have Waller, and that's at 10 and noon. And this is, of course, what we pointed to yesterday. And it was so funny. There were so many retail punters that were arguing this with me on Twitter of like, why this isn't applicable. Like the market's still going to crash. And that is always the hallmark. Whenever the market's in like this, emotional state, it might be when the market's on the highs. Remember, we shorted the market quite literally like 1 or 2 days before the highs in August. And at that point, I remember being on Twitter Spaces. Everyone was like, well, how could you be getting short here? That doesn't make any sense. The stocks only go up. And of course, like, if you're getting long into this sentiment extreme, people are like, there's no way. The market's got to keep going down. It's crashing, bruh. So, yeah, that is the sentiment trader. Finviz heat map. This was a little bit odd. So we did have some nice broad market strength. Tesla was up 1.96%. Even the energy stocks had a little bit of a bounce back. Healthcare was very strong. But we did have Microsoft and Apple and Google as well lagging behind the pack. And we know from all the work that we do that Microsoft and Apple combined, they make up about 13% of the S&P 500. That's a massive weight. So there were times during the day when I was looking at the market and I was like, hey, the market's maybe up 0.3% or 0.4% or 0.2%, whatever it might be. But Apple and Microsoft are not even pulling their weight today. Once these two stocks come online, it's going to be very tough to get market downside. So yeah, we'll have to see what Apple and Microsoft do. I ended up adding some Apple call options really just to play for that event happening. I think Apple is going to come out of its malaise, and I think that's going to help propel the market higher. Sectors, we did have some strength in blockchain assets. We had some strength in ARK. ARK Genomics was up 3.62%. We had the ARK FinTech Fund up 2.63%, the ARKK up 2.97%. Where are our blockchain assets? Where the heck is this BLOK? Yeah, that group was also up pretty big on the session here. It is up 3.41%. Style factors, our best performing style factor was high beta. And even when the market was trading towards the lows, high beta was outperforming. So there were some tells that the bulls had the edge today. Although I must say it was pretty jarring seeing these violent swings in the market. In terms of trades, I did close out the remaining 25% of my CWeb common shares. On this total trade, I ended up taking, I think it was like a 1% loss. I took the first two pieces off for like really nice winners, but then these Chinese stocks really just, took a huge skid, and the last piece took that one off for a loser. In terms of options trades, again at 9:36, when the S&P 500 was trading, pretty darn close to the lows, I added some more of these SPY September 16th 397 call options for 433, and I ended up getting an average cost of 591 on those. Those are now marking up for a nice winner. I sent out a limit order to close these. Oh my gosh, whenever I send a limit order out for something, just go ahead, close out the position, because we ended up getting some more volatility after I put out this limit order. And then of course those Apple calls that we mentioned earlier, I took the November 18th 155 calls. Let's take a look at the headline indices now and just see what we're working with into the end of the week. So the S&P 500, very nice finish above 4,000. I think for today's analysis, we got to go down to the hourly chart. I mean, if we start with the daily, look at this. We're definitely putting in this like capitulation bottom. Today was day 16 of the sell-off. Remember, the 2020 sell-off took 15 sessions. The 2021 sell-off in the fall took 20 sessions. And so we're right there in terms of just the end of this sequence potentially. But let's go to the hourly chart, and you'll really get a flavor for what happened today in the market. Oh my gosh! So this was like, we had that ripper of a rally yesterday. Overnight, we just kind of moved sideways, and then with Jerome Powell's speech, oh my gosh, we capitulated below this weekly point of control. And it was like, oh my gosh, we're slipping into the abyss. We're giving back a lot of yesterday's rally. Right around here at 9:36 a.m., this is where I bought those SPY call options. So I got a pretty good entry there. Market ended up ripping to the highs. Oh my gosh, we're looking great. We're going to make a move up to this weekly value area high. And then as soon as we crossed over 4K, we had another huge shakeout on pretty high volume as well. So, I mean, if you're, putting super tight stops on these trades, like you're most likely getting stopped out here. And I think that's the benefit of being a swing trader. We don't have to be super concerned with like, oh my gosh, what's the 5-minute candle doing? What's the hourly? That sort of stuff. I do pay attention to it when the market's at a turning point like this. But yeah, as a swing trader, you don't have to worry about, being that tight. And I gotta say, like, this kind of price action that we're seeing, like, oh my gosh, we're up one day, we're down another day. Oh my gosh, rallies are being sold into, we're getting intraday volatility. This is what happens every single time the market makes a low. And the reason why is because when the market makes a low, there's momentum going to the downside. There's hedge funds getting obliterated. There's investors that are so underwater that as soon as the market rallies, they are offloading their positions, they're getting out of Dodge. And you have all these different cross currents that are hitting the tape. So yeah, trading, it's definitely difficult. It's not like an easy job. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's important to realize like this violent sequence that we're getting as we're trying to carve out a bottom, this is no different than any other bottoming sequence. I mean, look at this one over here. We had the same exact thing, right? We had like, oh my gosh, looks like we're going to rally. Boom, we got knocked down lower. Oh my gosh, we finally are rallying. Then intraday on the next day, you almost fully retrace the prior candle. And just a lot of violence every time you get a bottoming process in the market. So yeah, it's just important to keep that in mind. Now at this point, now that we've put in those two shakeouts, I do think odds are we're going to get a move up to this weekly value area high. We're so darn close at this point that to me that's just the next logical spot. And then from there we'll have to see if we can actually break out. But again, we're going to get the CPI report that is going to come in on Tuesday. And I think odds are that's going to be a second straight month of deceleration. And I think all of these market narratives could really change after that CPI report. So yeah, all the doom and gloom, like all this stuff, it's always just backward looking. It's like backward looking doom and gloom. So that is the S&P 500. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is trading up a smidge in the after hours. NASDAQ is definitely lagging for whatever reason. We've got the Russell 2000. This one is approaching the monthly value area low. And then, of course, we've got our dogs of the Dow. Dow Jones approaching the 10 EMA. Let's take a quick look at the dollar, because that is definitely a key component to this rally. The dollar index put in another slightly red candle, and this breakout is looking more and more like it was likely a false breakout. What we really want to see is a deceleration in inflation on Tuesday. That deceleration will likely put downward pressure on the dollar, and that is a great thing for the financial system as a whole. Let's take a look at our bond market. This is still the one thing that's very, very odd. These bonds, they just can't catch a bid whatsoever. So like on Tuesday, if we get a deceleration on the inflation report and these bonds still can't catch a bid, that means something is wrong. I don't think that'll end up being the case. But yeah, this is like the one thing that's still a little bit suspect. Like we can't have a really nice rally if these treasury yields are still just moving to the upside. And then crude looks like it is actually taking a hit in the after hours. This is another component. Crude oil is down at, $82 a barrel and change, almost 83 bucks. It's given back almost all of the year-to-date gains. So like you have everyone screaming, "Oh my gosh, hyperinflation," as the market's selling off. And it's like crude's going to like, year-to-date lows practically. Like that is totally telling you the opposite thing. So you'll notice like the financial media, they're always going to steer you wrong. They're optimizing for getting clicks, getting views, and that basically means just like, Monday morning quarterbacking, almost everything. Let's take a look at some different stocks for today. Privia is one of the names that we're currently long, and this one had a very nice sequence. And I actually almost wish that I put on a bigger position here. I was actually thinking about doubling this one up, but instead of adding to Privia, I ended up adding to Hut 8 Mining yesterday. And Hut 8 Mining was up over 15% today. Pretty crazy stuff. It rarely happens where like I time something that well, but better to be lucky than skilled. In this case, Hut 8 Mining just really did its thing here, which is good. One stock that was definitely a sore spot for me today was CSIQ. This is one of my largest options positions, and this stock, had a very nice breakout yesterday. Oh my gosh, looks fantastic. And Goldman Sachs gave it a downgrade today, and the stock really just, I don't want to say fell apart. It's still above the 20-day simple moving average, but it did not participate in this rally whatsoever. And we had some very high volume selling. An analyst downgrade, is it really a big deal? No, not really. I mean, for us, we're just still trading the chart, and this could end up being, just a really nice shakeout. I would actually love to see this thing just like break out immediately after Goldman Sachs downgraded it, but that's just part of the game. Sometimes you put a position on, you get a downgrade, you get a bad news catalyst, whatever it might be. Another stock I want to talk about is Twitter. Twitter, look at this. Merger arbitrage trade that we have on. We are still long our Twitter call options, and we actually got the news today of the whistleblower case. And the whistleblower emerged, I think, right here, and we ended up getting this big gap down. The whistleblower settled. So they paid the whistleblower $7 million, and I think the whistleblower is just like going away. So I think these merger arbitrage traders, they're kind of like reassessing these probabilities, and Twitter is starting to move to the upside. Some other names that we have been taking a look at. One name that I'm looking at specifically is GLBE. This is a stock that I traded back on the summer lows, and I had a really nice sequence with this name. I think I pulled maybe like a 40 or 50% winner out of this stock, I forget. But GLBE, we had a big time reset in the stock, and it held this bottom of value. This one looks really good. And if we get the rally in these high octane growth stocks, this is one that I really want to pay attention to. One of our members actually just popped into our chat. This HRMY. This one also looks really good. This one is, very close to breaking back inside value, looking very solid. And another one that I'm taking a look at, we have this MNTK. This is a clean energy stock. We were chatting about this one this morning in our trading room. This one is on the verge of breaking out as well. What else do we got? Already talked about Privia, GFS, Enphase. Yeah, definitely going to do a little bit more homework. Celsius ended up putting in a really good, nice relative performance. Celsius, very nice reset. So I do think we got to watch this one for a potential breakout as well tomorrow. So yeah, heading into the end of the week, I think I'm just going to be looking for that, potential S&P 500 breakout. And then, for the market bears, they've essentially got Friday and Monday to crash the market. After that, we're going to get the CPI report, and all these bearish narratives, they're likely going to go out the window when we get the deceleration. So yeah, I think if you're bearish, the window of opportunity is closing, but we'll have to see. Never a dull moment out there. So appreciate you for tuning in. We'll see you all tomorrow.